Hey, dude, it's your boy Nextstop Sirchcity. Welcome back to another episode of the Food We Watch podcast. Now, I know, it look a little different right now. I'm feeling a little lonely. Unfortunately, Neda had to take a vacation this week, so it'll just be me. It'll just be me and you. So hopefully you guys enjoy the show. As you already know, this podcast, we go over or we watch food shows and we review each episode. Currently, we are reviewing MasterChef Season 13. We are on episode 6, and let me tell you, what you thought may be easy turned out to be one of the hardest competitions so far. But let's get into it. As we know, the chefs that we have judging, we have, of course, Gordon Ramsay, we have Chef Aaron, and we have Chef Joe. All right, now, this week's episode, what was going on is they had to cook an apple dish. Now, in your mind, you're like, oh, it's tons of apple dishes, not too hard. They can be elevated, apple pie, crumble, dessert base, things like that. But as we know, in watching these shows, there's always a twist. Of course, Gordon was not going to make it that easy. So, what the chefs had to do was either cook savory or they had to cook sweet per region. Now, we know last week the Midwest Kyle ended up taking home that immunity pen. So he got to choose which region got to cook either savory or sweet. Now, he did throw a little shade. I ain't going to hold you. Of course, Midwest, he chose savory for the Midwest. He also chose savory for the West. He felt like, they're not really, uh, the West isn't really big on competition. They lost one last week. So he wasn't really worrying about him, but he thought he was going to throw a twist and hit the Northeast, which what I'm repping, as you can see, and the South with something sweet. Little did he know the South had something to say, but we're going to get into that. Now, going into the cooking round, Grant, he was basically saying, look, I'm comfortable with cooking savory. I don't care. We gonna throw something out there. We gonna make it do what it do. All right. Now, here's the thing. Here's the joint that kind of threw me off a little bit. I don't know about you, but when you think scallops, I don't think apple with scallops. This is actually the first time I heard anybody pair apples with scallops. Two people, I believe, this episode did do that. It was Lizzie, and I believe I want to say, who was it? Who was the other one? Don't mind me. I'm just, yeah, it was, and Wayne. That's what I want to say. So Wayne from the Midwest. I've never heard of pairing apples with scallops. I don't know how well that goes. I guess if you think about it, the way you season scallops is more on the salty, savory side. So maybe the sweetness of the apple could present a good dish. We will find out. But let me know in the comments, guys. Have you ever had a dish where they had some kind of seafood with apple? I've never had it. I never tried it. But moving on, we had people cooking apple cider donuts. They was doing a bourbon crumble. So there was some nice dishes being thrown out there in the cooking phases of the competition. I'm not gonna lie, I was getting a little hungry. I'm a fan of apples. I do like apple pie. Now that bourbon crumble though, that joint caught my attention. I was like, yeah, I kind of want some of that, but I might have to add that to the list. I'm gonna let Neda know one of our shoot days. I think apple crumble, and I think Nina did that one. I think we need to go ahead and add that to a dessert for the fall. Nita, if you're watching, mark that down in the calendar. No, but we had a rice pudding dessert. Now there was an issue. I forget her name. that the lady that was making the rice pudding, she was having issues because her milk curdled twice. Off rip, if the milk curdled twice for me, I'm changing up what I'm doing. That's just me. That's how I feel. I'm not, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me three signs, chuck the peace sign, and we not gonna get copyrighted. But I believe the third time she did try it again, and she did get the milk to do what it was supposed to do for her rice pudding. Not gonna lie, I am not a fan of rice pudding. I do not like rice pudding. My wife and kids, they love it, they eat it, they make it. I don't like rice all like that, period. So I definitely do not want it for dessert. Now, I do know Reagan, and I believe she's in the South. I believe the judges came over to her, asked what she felt about, Kyle, giving them, sweet and thinking that, he's not really worried. Reagan was like, look, just like I said, the South got something to say. Y'all won't have to be afraid. I do like Reagan. I like her confidence, and I like her dishes and anything from down south. If you got that, if you got them hands, them Southern hands with the Southern, then yeah, I'm confident in her ability. Now, here's where it started to get a little crazy. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Kendall, and I think he's another South cook too. Man, I think people need to learn how to read the room. So, and what I mean by that is, I don't think you should. I know you're in a competition and you want to impress the judges. I don't think you should wait to. I don't think you should wait till a competition to do something for the first time. I think that is a rookie move, a rookie mistake. But Kendall chose to do it anyway. Kendon chose to make churros, and then he's talking to Gordon, and Gordon is like, okay, churros. He's like, but he kind of said it too. You're gonna make churros with Chef Aron as the judge. He's like, you better make the best churros that you ever had in your life. And I think this is actually his first time or second time making churros. But then he wanted to use the apple to design an apple duck, like an origami apple duck. And don't think that's the best move. Gordon even said it. To quote Gordon Ramsay, Gordon says, "Fuck the duck." Okay, Gordon was like, "We don't need you to focus your time on creating something decorative that we're not going to really be able to eat, or it's not going to elevate your dish." So, Kendall struggled a little bit, struggled getting his batter together. He was taking his time. Wasn't really the best show for him this week. Um, I think he swung big and came up missing. That's how I felt. But we're going to get into the winners and losers a little bit later. Then we have our dear friend Richie. Trying to root for Richie. Richie is from the Northeast region. Last week he kind of he had a fumble. He was in the bottom. He was in the losers round, not loser round, but he was one of the ones that could have went home last week with his dessert that really wasn't a dessert because it was like more like toppings. Richie, boy, oh boy. When I tell you this was so embarrassing. And this is where you see Richie's young. I think he's in his early 20s. And this is where you start to see that inexperience come into play with Richie. Richie was supposed to make apple cupcakes inspired by his grandmother. He started falling behind real early. Didn't have his ingredients made up. And they're asking me, like, yo, you still got to bake that, right? Like, so there was an issue. with him forgetting to put baking powder in his cupcakes. Baking powder is what helps the cupcakes rise, give it that fluffy, moist, that fluffy. Um, he ain't put nothing in though. He ain't put nothing in the cupcake. So, and this where it got crazy. I'm telling you, if y'all watch this, if you didn't watch this episode, you gotta go back. He he changed the name of his dish from apple cupcakes to apple home cakes. Never heard of this before. He tried to finesse it because by the time he realized that the cupcakes ain't rise, they had already been baked. He had no time to make another batch. So they were like rocks. They were like these circular, and literally they said it. It was like baseballs, like rocks, hard rocks, disgusting. Instead of him just, taking it and saying, look, yo, my bad. I did not put the baking powder in. It came up, He still tried to finesse it and say this is how his grandma. Now, here's the thing. You going to throw shade on your grandma, dog? Yo, I'm not going to hold you, Richie. You trying to say this is what your grandmama made? And you said that on national TV, dog? I feel some type of way, dog. Like, I hope I can get you on the show. We got to ask you about that. Like, come on, dog. Like, no, he was literally, him and Joe was going back and forth. Like, he was like, this can't be your grandmother's recipe. And then he ain't want to own up to it. Still ain't want to say he made a mistake. What did he do? Yeah. This is what, home cakes. And then Joe was like, home cakes. He's like, what's a home cake? First of all, weren't you just saying when we were over there that these are cupcakes? The whole time, Richie is fumbling, going back and forth. Oh no, what I meant was, home cakes, like, cause she made them at home, and it was a cake, and but he never would admit it, and that was pissing Joe off, because Joe will tell you, I don't like being lied to. Instead of him just coming out and saying I made a mistake, that maybe it could have saved him. You never know. That gives points, but once he just didn't admit the fact that he made a mistake, it was pretty much done for him. He definitely was in that bottom round. Spoiler, I can't even talk. Spoiler alert. There we go. He was in that bottom round. Now Jennifer, she made a spiced apple cake that I never had or heard of. Looked very delicious. I definitely wanted. This is one of the episodes where I would not have mind like being like a guest judge. We gonna keep throwing it out there. Gordon, or any producer on the show, if you there, we talking directly to you, and I can speak on behalf of Neda. We would love to be a guest on one of these shows in the future, and we would love to have you guys on the show. Now, not gonna lie, there were some good dishes. There were some very, very, very bad dishes. So, and there were a lot of mistakes going on. We have Charles, who I believe he made this seaweed bowl thing in his audition round, and me and Shanita was like, "Yo, he's a front runner. We are rooting for him." In his, I believe he made a dessert. He forgot to cook the alcohol down, so he had raw alcohol in his sauce, which, in my opinion, I don't really mind. Give me a little tipsy, but you're supposed to burn off the alcohol. He didn't do that. And there was another cook, and I believe it was Kendall. I think it was Kendall. With his churros, instead of using sugar, he used salt. They bit into it and literally threw it out of their mouth. He was like, blah, blah, blah. What is this? It's like, yo, what is going on? Like, it's just like, did you put any sugar in this? And he was like, no, yeah, that's sugar. They told him to taste it. He was like, yeah, that ain't sugar. Mm. He's like, they still good though. And they like, no, the hell they not. So it was a lot going on. Like I said, something as easy as an apple, um, you would think, shouldn't be that hard of a challenge. But what sometimes it comes down to is technique and ideas. Um, Pardon me, I have my lemon water. Doing all this talking does make Search a thirsty boy. But, as we go through the episode, we had some good dishes, we had some bad dishes. Um, Now we get to the part where the chefs decide the best dishes, and then we have the worst dishes. So let's go over the best dishes. From the Northeast, we had Nina. From the South, we had Jenny from the block. From the Midwest, we had Wayne. And from that west side, we had Kennedy. So those were the four best dishes from the regions. Well, for four best chefs. Let's go over what they cooked. So Nina from the Northeast, she's the one who made the bourbon apple crumble with oat and pecan toppings and a maple syrup whipped cream. I could be wrong on that word. I think I have a spelling error. But Nina, I need to try this. You're in the Northeast area. I'm in the Northeast area. How do I get this? How do you like here are my hands? Can you provide me with some of that? Like extra bourbon. We had Jennifer from the South. She made the apple spice cake with the cream cheese frosting and a caramel drizzle. When I tell you that cake looked delicious, and they, as a whole, the judges said it was elevated as good as it could be. Like there's nothing else she needed to do to make this dessert any better. It was the best dessert of all time. We had Wayne from the Midwest, and again, I never had scallops as a dessert, but the judges thought it was a great job balancing sweet and savory for his dish. He did a Harrison spiced scallops with apple and fennel puree and a apple couscous. Never had couscous. 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 I never had couscous. 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 I just like saying that word. That joint kind of dope. And then we finalized that with the West, and we have Kennedy, and she did a pork tenderloin with a parsnip puree, apple butter gravy, and pickled green apple salad. They said the food was so elegant for being so early on in the competition. And I'm not going to lie, that pork tenderloin did look delicious. All in all, we have four dope dishes, but as we know, only one can win. The winner of the immunity pen this week was Jenny from the block, apple spice cake with the cream cheese frosted and the caramel drizzle for sizzle. I again, how do my hands are here? Can you place it here? I need some. Now with her winning, guess who was safe for the week? Because again, the person from if one person wins from your region, you all are safe. The winner gets an immunity pen and does not have to compete next week. Kendall with the nasty churros. Them churros looked like cat shit. I have a cat, and as soon as I saw it, they were so small and it was just weird. But guess what? Kendall dodged the biggest bullet. You hear me, Kendall? You dodged. Whew. And they said it. They're like, you will be going home this week if Jennifer didn't win. So congratulations. The biggest winner is Kendall. Jennifer is not even, this is Kendall really won. Kendall won this week. because boy, I think that was probably the worst dish in Master Chef history. But as I like to say, what comes with the best, we also have the worst. And representing the Northeast, the worst dish this week or last week was Richie. We had the Midwest, which was Charles, and we had the West, which was Lizzie. So Richie again. Now here's the thing that made me laugh. When they bring their plate up, and then the judges will say, "What's this dish?" and then it cuts to a picture of the dish while they're explaining it, and it gives like uh, the ingredients and all that stuff. Me and Neda always talk about like, yo, these producers really be on it. The cameraman, all that stuff. When the title of his dish came up, it said spiced home cakes in quotations. Like home cakes was literally in quotations. I caught that. I was cracking up. I was like, they don't even believe you, dog. Like it literally came up spiced home cake. They was like, okay. Yo, I love the producers of Gordon Ramsay shows, man. Y'all really be on it. We was talking about this for Next Level Chef. Same thing is going on over here on Master Chef. The producers, the editors, all that, they do not be playing with y'all. They be trying to play y'all low key. But Richie's dish was spiced home cakes with an apple compote and a tarragon whipped cream. Now, they said everything else tasted great. Delicious, the whipped cream, the compote was good. Them home cakes, though, you can hit a home run with. And again, Joe was mad that he changed the name and did not want to admit that he messed up. Joe literally called them rocks. So maybe he should have called them home rocks, spiced home rocks. We had Charles from the Midwest. He did a pan-seared red snapper with apple and potato scales with a white wine applesauce. Now, he did the most. There are certain things that a lot of chefs, unless you are seasoned or you have like a crazy recipe, and I've seen Ramsay say this plenty of times, do not mess with the skin. Why would you take the perfectly good skin off of a snapper to create an apple scale? First, it was supposed to be all apples. Joe kind of met him halfway and was like, hey, maybe you should do like potato and apple. All in all, the judges was not feeling the dish. He should have kept that red snapper skin on there. Maybe did like some kind of season, like some kind of sauce with the apples, spice it up a little bit. I don't know, but he don't take the skin off. The skin be, if you sear it right, it be all crispy and good. Like, why would you do that? Chef Aron said the dish looked all types of wrong. He said the fish was cooked okay, but everything else just did not go. And then last but not least, we have the West. We have Lizzie. We had the pan-seared scallops with the apple celery root puree, apple salad with apple chutney. She went apple crazy. Ridiculously too much apple. I get that you want your dish to give that apple feel, but they even said it's apple everything. Like it is a such thing as overkill. But that didn't really hurt her as did the scallops that she burnt. Again, there's a lot of mistakes going on in this episode, and that hurt her severely. She was burning her scallops, and she used too much apple. Now, overall, it's no real surprise if you watch the episode that you know that Northeast took a hit this week. We had to say goodbye to Richie. I didn't think there was any saving him anyway. 2 weeks in a row, you're in the bottom. I think he was a little wet behind the ears, a little young for this competition. And again, he just couldn't take ownership of his mistake. I'm not going to lie. I think it could have, between him and Lizzie, it could have went either way because she literally burnt her scallops. Like, you know. So I don't know. I don't know. It could have been swayed either or, but I think him not admitting that he did something wrong kind of put a nasty taste in their mouth, along with his home rock cakes. But all in all, we say goodbye to Richie. So now we have the West with 3 chefs, and we have I think it's 3, and now the Northeast only with 3 chefs. Um, but I would like to say thank you, Richie, for being on the show. Wish you could have made it a little bit more. Wish you could have stayed on the show a little bit longer, but life be life, and that's how that be sometimes. Next week I don't know if y'all watch, you know, other episodes of the podcast. I don't really once they say who won or who lost, I turn off the show. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really be wanting to know. Growing up, I used to love, all right, the previews for next week. But I feel like a lot of times they show a lot of the good parts nowadays in the previews. So I'm like, I don't want to watch the previews, but I kind of stuck around. It's going down. I'm not saying what's going to happen. All I know is it's one of those team competitions where they got to cook for like firefighters and stuff. It is going to be crazy, son. But tune in next week, or this week, I should say, on Tuesday. That's when MasterChef airs. And we will definitely have Neda back, hopefully next week, on the next episode of the Food We Watch podcast. I do want to say thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. We are working diligently trying to produce this, put it out every single week, and be consistent. And we are slowly growing, slowly have a small fan base, and we greatly appreciate it. What we really need you guys to do is interact, like, share, comment, tell people, tell your family, especially if you know somebody that watches food shows. There's a lot of you guys out there. There's a whole niche for you guys. I feel like we have the podcast that you may want to tune into. And the more we can get people to follow, to watch, the more we have so many ideas for this podcast that we want to put in place. We're just waiting for the opportunity to grow. Of course, we do want to get to the point where we have a Patreon and we're doing special episodes, or we're reviewing certain seasons or cooking shows on Netflix for our listeners, and doing watch shows and things like that where we watch episodes together. We definitely want to escalate. We're probably going to end up turning this into audio, so we can get on iTunes and Spotify and all that. So yeah, we're just out here. We out here trying to do this for you guys. Thank you for the ones that continue to follow, because we watch our analytics. Thank you for the ones that continue to follow. Again, just make sure you share it with your peeps. If you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that be watching these cooking shows, be like, yeah, that boy Search, he be rapping. Well, guess what? He also got a podcast too, and he be killing it. All right, but guess what? I know like I know, that it's time to go. But before we go, I'd like to let you know that good things come and good things go. Life is like a box of chocolate that should be melting, guys.